Hello, my second grade friends. I hope you guys had a good spring break and that you're happy to be back doing schoolwork. Hopefully, you were able to enjoy the weather on Saturday and Sunday. It was really nice on Sunday, and it was kind of cold for the rest of the week, but it was still fun. So it was nice to kind of relax and not have anything to do. Last week, or I'm sorry, the week before spring break, we finished. I'm sorry, we were in the middle of chapter 11. Actually, chapter 11 was a long chapter, so I read the first half of chapter 11, where Humphrey was exploring in the classroom to see where his old friends were. He found out which classroom they were in. So he went out looking, but in the meantime, he did not let Og know he was going. So Og kind of freaked out. He was screaming. So when he heard him, he went back, and now he's back into his classroom. Okay, so that's what we will pick up in the middle of chapter 11. We'll finish the rest of chapter 11 today. For the rest of the week, I didn't have time to write poetry. I was too busy trying to keep up with all the comings and goings in room 26. Believe me, there were a lot of them. After several days of remembering her homework, Phoebe forgot again. "What about that reminder in your backpack?" Mrs. Brisbane asked her. "I forgot to look at my backpack," the girl admitted. "I thought she was going to burst into tears again." Mrs. Brisbane sighed. "I think I'm going to have to call your grandmother." That upset Phoebe a lot. "Oh, please don't, please. I don't want to worry her. I promise I'll do better." Maybe she just doesn't want to get in trouble. "See that you do," Mrs. Brisbane let her go, but that was a close call. Then, during recess one day, Mrs. Brisbane had a talk with helpful Holly about letting Rosie decide when she wanted help. Holly listened and agreed to try. Still, I saw Rolling Rosie getting irritated several times when Holly wanted to push her wheelchair or tell other people to get out of the way. Mrs. Brisbane was annoyed when Thomas raced out of the cloakroom one day and announced that there was a bug as big as his hand in there. Can you imagine? A bug as big as your hand. Ah! Eek! I squeaked. But the bug turned out to be only a harmless little fly. A fly. It's not as big as your hand. That same day after school, Mrs. Mack stopped by to chat. She had problems too. "Humphrey, teaching first grade would be a lot easier with you around, but I can't ask Mrs. Brisbane to give you up," she told me. I didn't think that would be polite to argue with her. Just then, AJ and Richie came in to try to convince Mrs. Brisbane to let either Og or me move to room 18. "You miss us, don't you?" Richie asked me when he generously slipped a few raisins into my cage. "I do," I squeaked back. "You'd rather live in room 18, wouldn't you?" AJ said in his loud voice. "Maybe not," I mumbled. I wasn't sure how I felt about moving to room 18, and I couldn't tell what Mrs. Brisbane was thinking because she was spending every spare moment playing with cards. She had lined up the cards in pairs on her desk and muttered over them at recess. She stayed after school and moved them around, muttering some more. I could only hear bits and pieces of what she was saying, things like, "Maybe that will help her," and "those two will work well together." I am a very curious hamster, especially when it comes to what's going on in a classroom. One night, Mrs. Brisbane left the cards out on her desk, and I just couldn't stop thinking about them. I wanted to check them out, but I didn't dare risk leaving my cage until after Aldo was finished for the night. "Hi, Rodent and Frog. Greetings from a primate," Aldo announced when he came in to clean. "What's a primate?" I asked. Aldo pulled out a cloth and started dusting the student tables. "Primates are a group of mammals that humans belong to. Rodents are a group of mammals that hamsters belong to. I guess you already know Og is a frog," he explained. "There are so many kinds of frogs. They have a whole group to themselves." I was shocked to find out there are more frogs than hamsters in the world. Imagine that. Aldo began to dust the teacher's desk. "No, no, no," I squeaked. "Mrs. Brisbane, I worked so hard arranging those cards." "Oops," Aldo said. "Mrs. Brisbane's in the middle of something here." He looked at the cards more closely. "Aha, looks like she's got something planned here. Brisbane's Buddies. Brisbane's Buddies? I've never heard of that before. Aldo left the cards alone and mopped the floors. When he was finished, he stopped to eat his supper and talk to us. I told Maria that I'm lucky I get to clean Mrs. Brisbane's room, he said as he munched on a sandwich. Maria was Aldo's wife and a special friend of mine. I get a lot of good ideas about teaching just from seeing what she's doing, he added. Aldo gave me a small piece of carrot and dropped a few froggy food sticks into Og's tank before he left. He was a thoughtful friend. Once Og and I were alone again, I couldn't stop thinking about those cards. Brisbane's Buddies, I said. Og, do you have any idea what that is about? Og splashed lazily in the water. He obviously didn't have an idea. Now I can finally find out for myself, I said. I flung open the door to my cage and scurried into the edge of the table and slid down the cord hanging from the blinds. Getting to Mrs. Brisbane's desk was easy. Getting on Mrs. Brisbane's desk was very, very, very difficult. In fact, it would have been completely impossible, except for those little bars between the chair legs. I think they're called rungs, but don't ask me why. However, climbing the chair that way meant reaching up as high as I could, grabbing hold and then pulling myself up, rung by rung by rung, with all my might. I'm strong because I get so much exercise. Then balancing on the top rung, I had to reach up high again, pulling myself up and slide onto the seat of the chair. After stopping to catch my breath, I reached up one more time, pulled myself to the arm of the chair, and rested again. You know those little bars on the chairs? That's what he's trying to climb up on. Luckily, Mrs. Brisbane always pushed a chair under the desk, so from the arm of the chair, it wasn't too difficult to pull myself up onto the desktop. That's the top of the desk. Although I was eager to get to the cards, I couldn't help noticing Rockin' Aki's hamster ball. I took a closer look. I'd really only seen Aki up close when he was moving. Now he was completely still. He actually didn't look much like a hamster at all. His fur wasn't shiny and golden like mine, and his eyes were lifeless pieces of plastic. I feel a little sorry for him. I decided to concentrate on the cards. One big card said Brisbane's Buddies, and the rest were laid out in pairs. Each card had one student's name on it. Above each pair was a label that said something different. It looks like some kind of a game, Og, I squeaked to my friend. I would try to figure it out. I strolled up and down the rows of cards, reading the labels. Teachers' assistants, door and line monitors, homework collectors. Oh, those sounds like jobs. It sounds like she's trying to match up friends to do those jobs. They're classroom jobs, Og. That's right, we were right. I squeaked. Mrs. Brisbane is pairing up 2 people for each job, so they'll have to work together. Isn't that a good idea? Boing, boing, Og twanged. Bulletin board designers. Ooh, listen to this job. Animal handlers, I told him. Boing, 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 Og replied, splashing loudly in his tank. Now that I understood what Brisbane's buddies were, I started reading the names she had paired together. Paul G. and Kelsey, Thomas and Phoebe, Holly and Rosie. I suddenly stopped. Mrs. Brisbane had worked hard and done a good job, but I had a few ideas of my own. Since part of my job as a classroom hamster is to help the teacher, I decided it would be okay for me to lend her a paw. Get that? Lend her a paw instead of a hand, because he's a hamster, he has paws. She needed all the help she could get. I'm just going to make a few teeny-weeny changes, Og, I explained to my friend as I carefully started moving the cards around. What may seem like a little card to a human is actually a huge card to a small hamster. So it took a lot of time and effort to move them and line them up. I was thinking so hard about what I was doing, I forgot about Aki until I accidentally backed into his hamster ball. I guess I hit the switch because the lights began to flash and the ball started to loop and twirl across the desk. Rockin' Aki! Rock and roll rules! The ball spun wildly. Stop it, Aki, I squeaked. Then I remembered he wasn't real. The ball twirled across the cards, which slowed it down. Bumpity bump bump. Aki, it seemed like a lot of fun when it was daytime and all my friends were there. But now his hamster ball was rocking and rolling out of control. Twice it spun dangerously near the edge of the table. If it fell off, it would be broken forever, and Mrs. Brisbane would be very, very, very upset. There had to be some way to shut it off. I could see a little on-off button as it spun across the desk. But every time I was close to it, the ball rolled away from me. Then I spotted some pencils laying nearby. I quickly set one pencil on one side of the ball to keep it from rolling, and it worked. The ball stayed in place, but the lights flashed and the music still blasted out. Rockin' Aki! There was still a problem. I would have to switch large buttons from on to off. Don't worry, Og. I'll turn it off, I squeaked. Not that Og would hear me over all that noise. I wasn't sure how to approach the ball, but if I could explore the school, spin on my wheel, and swing on a blind cord, I could surely get to that button. I took a running leap and jumped right on top of it. I had once seen a TV show where cowboys rode on bucking broncos, trying their best not to be thrown off while the ball wasn't moving. It was still shaking like mad. Yahoo! I shouted, just like those cowboys. The plastic was slippery, but I stretched my paw way close to the button. Ride 'em, cowboy! I yelled as the ball rocked and rolled. Rockin' Aki! The music played. I pushed a button with all my might and it slid forward. The music and the lights stopped immediately. I hadn't thought about stopping part when I slid off to the desk. Ouch! I'm okay, Og. Nothing broken, I said. At least I don't think so. As I lay here, catching my breath, I looked over the little hamster and the ball, staring straight ahead with glassy eyes. Sorry, pal, I said. I was only trying to help. Of course, I had to spend more time straightening out the cards that Aki had messed up. By the time I finally got back to my cage, the room was getting lighter. Before long, Mrs. Brisbane and the strange students would be back. Of course, they never knew about my exciting adventures. They probably thought that being a classroom hamster was easy. But even if they didn't know what I had accomplished, I was pleased that I had done an unsqueakably good job. I think Og was too. Humphrey's rule of school. Whatever job you're giving in a classroom, always do your best, even if it makes you unsqueakably tired. I know you guys do a good job with your jobs in school, like collecting homeworks or passing out papers or passing out the dividers. Hopefully, next year when you guys come back, you'll have new jobs to do. Maybe you have new jobs in your class, in your home, helping out with your mommy and daddy at school. But always do your best. That's what he says. That's what Humphrey says. No matter what job you have, always do your best. Right? Isn't that true? Do your best when you're doing anything. So, my friends, that's where we were stopped at chapter 11. That is the end of it. Next week, we'll pick up chapter 12. I hope you have a good week and enjoy your week. Bye-bye.